Skeleton
Speaking of,
Crew. Yeah.
yeah,
Episode 4. The show is good. So good.
4 episodes in, I am now confident saying this show is what we wanted it to be, which was different.
Yes. It's I mean, there's still a little part of me that is like, please don't fuck this up. Like don't do something that turns the
Don't
fandom
Star
against
Wars it
you.
up.
Because right now the fandom is behind you fully. Um but yeah, this show is so much fun like we hoped it would be. And like you say, such a different take. I've realized now with Star Wars, we always said there's like two sides to Star Wars, and we like our favorite is the opposite. You like the political, I like all the mystical. There is sort of a third one, which is key to Star Wars that we haven't actually had in a long time, which is just a kid's adventure story. And it's like that will use, but don't get me wrong, there's political stuff mixed into this.
Yeah.
There's mystical stuff mixed in, but it's very grounded as like this is for kids.
Do you know
But
what I think?
ultimately, it's actually just for all Star Wars fans because that's what we love.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there because you're right. Yeah, traditionally it's viewed as you've got mystical Star Wars and political Star Wars, but when you're a kid, magic and politics fucking feel the same. It's a bunch of stuff you don't understand that makes stuff happen.
Yeah.
Like if you actually, because I feel like although this show isn't directly from a kid's point of view, it kind of is from a kid's point of view because the main characters are all children. You're seeing the experience the way they're seeing it for the most part. So yeah, politicals like they don't know what their parents do. They don't understand what their parents do. But they're getting ready. They know they're going to do their parents' jobs, but they don't know what that is. They want to go on adventures. They know Jedi's exist, or they think Jedi's exist, but it's all adult stuff to them.
Yeah, and also like there's the kid that's acting like a leader, like the cool one that knows what they're up to, but actually they haven't got a fucking clue and they're struggling.
Yeah.
Which, like the deep stuff like that is what then hits like the adults that are watching this. They're like, oh shit, okay.
It doesn't get any easier. You'll never know what you're doing.
Welcome to the real world, unfortunately.
But amazing.
So hooked on what the fuck is going on Aten.
Yes. So we ended episode 3 with them getting coordinates back home and shooting off and avoiding the New Republic. And that was where the episode ended. And we come back to the kids going, that's home. I recognise that planet. I don't know how they recognise the planet from outer space when they've never left the planet before.
I think when they were saying that was they were going through the clouds and they saw the housing layout. You could see through the clouds, there's like all the houses. And that's the thing. They kept pointing out when they were on the planet, like, oh, that's the school. That's the school. Oh, my mum works in that building. Which means all the planets were essentially copies. I wonder if this is less the planet is valuable and it's an experiment of
maybe
what happens. You have 5 identical planets set up the exact same way with the housing, and then on each one they've introduced something and they're just locked away, and it's like what happens on those planets when they're locked away from the rest of the world.
Maybe
and this one's become like they're forever at war but actually don't know why they're at war anymore. They just keep stealing off each other.
I'm really interested in all of the planets having that at prefix.
Yes.
Because that's not something I can think of any other Star Wars like planet consistently having 2 words, let alone a prefix.
Which again,
that's like for a galaxy.
Experiment.
Yeah. AT something rather than Atin.
I didn't think about it as like AT, like
I think the reveal is going to be that they're saying at Atin and at this bit's actually like letters.
Oh.
So like AT, ATINA or whatever.
Possibly.
There's something going on there that's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
But this episode was really cool because of the amount of character development we got.
Yeah.
This was we're halfway through our adventure now. People are starting to realise some things about themselves.
Yes. This is the leaning into the coming of age themes of the story.
So much. Neil realizes that he wants to stand up for what he believes in and becomes a bit braver.
Yeah,
Fern realizes that
she
although she puts
isn't
on this big
brave
brave
face.
facade,
Yeah,
she's terrified.
she isn't this cool leader that you all think she is.
Yeah. I
Um,
also enjoyed Jack kind of
Jack Jord, whatever his name is.
yeah, he still believes he's in this for purely selfish reasons,
Yeah,
but
he's
it's not purely selfish anymore.
so
And I don't think he's aware of that yet.
yeah, something I saw after last week, because obviously then everyone's like, oh, Scarlet Jack. Apparently that was a famous pirate who looks nothing like him, and as we're learning, he doesn't often tell the truth. Probably again, just a name he's stolen from someone else and he's using. Um, I still think in his head he is like trying to get his big score
Absolutely.
because he knows that essentially buys his freedom. I do think there's some, whether he was a Jedi or not, whether he'd actually trained or if he's just has a bit of force power because he's one that would have been a Jedi if he'd been found as a kid or whatever. I think with that, there's some sort of like moral sense of good hidden deep in him of these are kids, he does actually want to help them. Like he's slowly, they're wearing away at him and he's now starting to like actually look out for them a little bit, not just use them.
Yeah. Like when he was offered a reward instead of like whatever he wants for returning the things, he just instantly was like, "I'll have the kids."
Yes, but I think that's also still partly because the kids get him to at-in because he knew this isn't the right planet. There's still the chance of finding the treasure. The kids are technically more valuable to him in his head, not knowing if he's actually going to get there. There might be no treasure.
But he was also really proud of himself for like coming and saving them. That was the thing. Like I said, I think he thinks his decisions are being made purely for the we're
yes,
gonna get to our task. But I think
deeper
without him
down.
realizing
Yeah.
the moral kind of I want to be better is starting to seep in. And I do think we see an end to this where he ends up either as like a Robin Hood style character or settling down on Atatin if it's not like a creepy planet to just kind of have a
So
nice life.
here's the we've essentially seen this at action and being like derelict, and we're learning. Oh, that's the supervisor tower, and in this supervisor tower, there's literally a pillar for each planet's coordinates. Which in my head, if all these like if the buildings are copied, that is the same on every planet.
Mm-hmm.
Which means whoever's in their supervisor tower knows they are part of a collection of planets. Now, we still don't know. I'm still stuck on this point I was saying last week of obviously SM-33 we now learn was told by his captain to forget everything about this, and they finally worked that out and get it out of him. But then unfortunately take down the protections, which is so
That
funny.
was such a good twist of like, hey, they finally worked out the puzzle. Like you've DM'd stuff and you've been part of D&D campaigns. That's such a you solved the puzzle, and then okay, cool, you've now entered combat.
Yeah, it's now you've just broke the spell on him, and they are of their right mind, and they are an evil person. And you're like, oh shit. So I think SM-33 they're gonna end up getting more information out of him.
I believe so as well. Yeah.
But like the thing is, he was obviously turned off on the ship on Atatin when they found it.
Yes.
There were skeletons, so I think that's part of what he mentioned of the crew. Anyone that knew the coordinates was killed. So any of his crew, they probably arrived. Captain killed all the crew, thinking, "Oh, we're here. I'm going to go get the treasure."
No, but he said he killed anyone who saw it on the bridge. Sorry, in that building, and then ordered him to destroy it. What I think happened was he got a new temporary crew for the voyage to Atin, and then when they arrived, killed them.
Well, yeah. Whatever crew, the skeletons.
I think it's 2 crews.
Well, I think the skeletons are the crew, and he left the robot turned off. And this ship, because this is the thing, like I said last week.
Oh my god! What if he's the supervisor?
So this is what we were saying last week. I was like, there was a ship found at Aten and never left, which means whoever was on that ship, someone got off that ship alive and never left the planet. Now, the supervisor, I have 2 theories. Well, 2/3. One is it's whoever this pirate was.
Okay.
Found out there is no treasure, but somehow took control as a supervisor.
Got ya.
Maybe that's Hando. Could be a cool.
Would they change Hando and make him like that brutal and obvious a murderer though?
Yeah, but what if it was a case of he found this planet, everything's sort of peaceful, and he's like, I can just live here away from all piracy and not be caught, and just gonna let him keep running things as is.
See, here's the thing. I know, like, it's never alluded to that Hondo's against murder, but he doesn't come across as like I will slaughter my entire crew. I feel like that would really hurt his perception if we found out he'd slaughtered 2 entire crews potentially.
Don't get me wrong, the Hondo idea of that being who the person is a stretch. I think there's potentially, though, this captain is now in charge.
Like the captain being the supervisor, I can see.
The other is sort of what I was saying last week, where I think maybe a droid is kind of just running things on an old protocol. Mm-hmm. What if it was whoever the supervisor was in that tower, essentially never left the tower, and it's all droids that assist them in the tower? So if people try to make an appointment, they speak to a droid. What if the person is just dead from old age because this planet's been hidden away for so long, and it's just a droid is stuck on its last orders of keep this thing running?
Yeah.
So it's just droids running it because they have no person above them to tell them otherwise.
Yeah. So the real things we need to try and work out for the greater mystery is these hidden planets. Were they all designed to do the same thing, and Atatin was the lucky one that survived?
Maybe.
Or is it more like potentially what you're saying, a kind of Fallout situation where they're running a kind of nature versus nurture type thing on each of these planets to see what the outcome is, and Atatin is the only one where society prevails?
What if it is like a Fallout situation and Atatin is essentially the control one where they keep it all perfect and all the other planets we got told they were destroyed. So Atchin, that's another thing. The owl lady said, all those planets were destroyed but one, and it was lost forever, and that must be at Atin. She got coordinates thinking she was sending them there, but it sent them to Atchin, which means that planet wasn't destroyed.
What if, like, they all exist?
What if none of them have been destroyed? Place? Oh, what if it's the same planet, just a different section of it?
Kind of. What if it is the same planet, but because of, like, light speed travel and stuff, there's, like, a weird... This show's fucking weird anyway, and I'm just going to get weird with it. What if it's kind of like a time travel kind of vibe?
I get you.
So it's actually one planet, but it's because of where it is in the universe, depending on how you approach it, you arrive at a different point in its history.
Thinking about it, though...
Which would make it incredibly valuable.
It can't be the same planet, because they would have recognised... Oh no, the barrier only shows up at night.
And also, he said that the tree's grown too much, which was the first thing that made me go, is it the same planet? But they've been like...
Well, that just, to me, is like this idea of they were all made identical.
No, but the tree still wouldn't have grown more unless more time had passed.
Well, is he thinking the tree's grown more, or is it a case of because the house became dilapidated, like we've seen
Maybe,
nature
maybe.
takes over, but obviously on their planet it's kept pruned, kept in check.
It's a difficult one because like Star Wars has never dealt with the whole if you travel in space, time dilation happens.
Yeah,
What if this is their way of kind of fucking around with the idea of time dilation and going, this is actually one planet that's affected by that, and depending on how you approach it, depends on what period of time you go to.
I think
I think it's weird, but there might be something like that occurring.
I think it might be some sort of like Fallout situation where actually none of the planets got destroyed. That's a rumor that got spread around and is a lie. All 6 of these planets, or whatever, 5, are still running, and it's all the same, like at Atchin and at Atin, and they're all actually still there, but
Yeah,
different levels of society collapse or like flourishing. And who knows what they're being made to do.
yeah. I'm really curious, but I love it. It's so nice to watch a Star Wars show and not be going, oh, this is how this ties into this, because this is a well documented part of Star
Oh yeah.
Wars history.
Well, yes and no, because it's in the Mando era. It's just like, I think the advantage we've got is we've got plenty of history documented before this time. So we kind of know what's been gone on in the world. This is a gap where really our only understanding is what we've learned from Mando, which has been quite a lot. And then obviously you've got the sequel films, which are way ahead. So there is like, it's a good place to be like, oh, we can get away with something and people won't really question not knowing about this. And the way they're setting this up of like these planets were hidden away works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm so intrigued to learn one, who George, Jack, whoever he actually is, and what this planet is doing. It's going to
Yeah,
be an intriguing reveal, I think.
it's so much fun not having a fucking clue what direction they're going to take this in. Because we can sit here and we can shout ideas for hours, but
Yeah.
we're probably not even in the same wheelhouse. But I don't get the idea that whatever they're going to land on is going to be a case of, oh, that makes no sense. I just feel like they're just holding one little bit of information, and once we have that, we're going to be like, oh my god.
Imagine it's a certain person in control of all these planets still with a purple lightsaber.
Imagine White Mace Windu's been hiding out there
Yeah.
just so he can pretend the Republic's alive. Comedy. Yeah, Skeleton Crew has been the breath of fresh air from Star Wars I needed. And hopefully this tells Disney they can tell new
start.
stories that have nothing
Yeah.
to do with the Skywalkers.
Yeah, they've kind of managed to do the like Acolyte was a whole new time, but they sort of fed in some lore stuff. People weren't happy with that. This is the opposite of like, oh, it's in this time period, but we're not tying it to anything right now, other than little things like the Republic and like those general ideas. They're keeping it separate in a new way, which is working, and fans are actually behind this for once, which I think is also great.
Yeah.
Especially
pretty
like,
good.
and to look at it as well as like Star Wars fans have not necessarily been kind to child Star Wars actors in the past.
Famously horrific towards them.
So to see them actually being behind these kids and showing love for the show is a great thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've all acted phenomenally, just to be clear.